Everyone, welcome back to Daily Devotions. Pastor Steve here walking with you in God's Word. We're in Genesis chapter 25 as the narrative continues to roll on. We read about and we heard about the death of Sarah and being able to see how that narrative continues to roll on within Isaac and Rebekah. And as we continue to see that, Isaac and Rebekah are going to be blessed as well to see how the narrative of what would be Israel will continue on as well. And so, as there is with any narrative in life, there is death. And as there is death, especially after the fall, as we get to see from Genesis chapter 3, as the death comes, also life comes from that death. And so that's what we get to see here in the death of Abraham, but also the blessings and the gifts and the continual blessing that was promised to Abraham, that is handed down through his sons. And there's a little bit of shift as we get to see in who is his firstborn and what are the gifts and what are the blessings going forth according to, yes, the law, according to the legal matters, but also according just to the promises and blessings from Abraham to his family of many nations, as it was promised to him in these last chapters. The covenant of God, the promise of God, continues to roll through the narrative of Abraham, even in death, to his continual narrative and legacy through his family. Chapter 25, verse 1. Abraham took another wife whose name was Keturah. She bore him Zimran, Jokshan, Midian, Ishbak, and Shua. Jokshan was the father of Sheba and Dedan. The descendants of Dedan were the Asherites, the Letushites, and the Lumites. The sons of Midian were Ephah, Epher, Hanach, Abida, and Eldah. All these were descendants of Keturah. Abraham left everything he owned to Isaac. But while he was still living, he gave gifts to the sons of his concubines, and sent them away from his son Isaac to the land of the east. And so he left everything he owned to Isaac. Isaac is by law, as we get to see that in Sarah and Abraham, not Abraham and Hagar, but by law, Abraham and Sarah in that marriage is the firstborn Isaac. And so he is the one who inherits Abraham's everything, his allotment, land, animals, and all he had. Yet Abraham was also gracious and generous to the sons in his later years to be able to give them gifts, but also being able to actually push them to the east. And so Isaac is going to have that land, that promise of God, that covenant that God continues to roll through Abraham's descendants. Verse 7, it says, altogether Abraham lived 175 years. Then Abraham breathed his last and died at a good old age, an old man and full of years. And he was gathered to his people. His sons Isaac and Ishmael buried him in the cave of Machpelah near Mamre, in the field of Ephron, son of Zohar the Hittite, the field Abraham had bought from the Hittites. There Abraham was buried with his wife Sarah. After Abraham's death, God blessed his son Isaac, who then lived near Beer Lahai Roi. This is the account of Abraham's son Ishmael, whom Sarah's maidservant Hagar the Egyptian bore to Abraham. These are the names of the sons of Ishmael, listed in the order of their birth. Nebaioth, the firstborn of Ishmael, Kedar, Adbeel, Mibzam, Mishba, Duma, Masa, Hadad, Tema, Jetur, Naphish, and Kedama. These were the sons of Ishmael, and these are the names of the 12 tribal rulers according to their settlements and camps. Altogether, Ishmael lived 137 years. He breathed his last and died, and he was gathered to his people. His descendants settled in the area of the Havilah to Shur, near the border of Egypt, as you go towards Ashur. And they lived in hostility toward all their brothers. A blessing, and the descendants are going to be numerous, that God was going to bless Ishmael. He did. He gave him that land down south, but there's also that news and that understanding that there's going to be hostility as well. This comes true that there is hostility in the family of Ishmael between the brothers, which is really between the nations, as we get to see even into the future. There's going to be that continual hostility. But from here on out, this is kind of the settlement, right? Here is Abraham's concubines, their sons being able to be gifted and generous, go off to the east. Ishmael's going off to the south, but now it gets laser focused in on the covenant and the blessing and the promise that God's going to bring through Abraham's descendants, and that being through Isaac. Isaac and Rebekah. So, here we are as we continue on for the rest of Genesis, really focused in on the family of Abraham through his firstborn, lawful, legal firstborn son, Isaac. And this is the account of Abraham's son, Isaac. Abraham became the father of Isaac, and Isaac was 40 years old when he married Rebekah, daughter of Bethuel, the Aramean from Padan Aram, and sister of Laban, the Aramean. Isaac prayed to the Lord on behalf of his wife because she was barren. The Lord answered his prayer, and his wife Rebekah became pregnant. The babies jostled each other within her, and she said, "Why is this happening to me?" So she went to inquire of the Lord. The Lord said to her, "Two nations are in your womb, and two peoples from within you will be separated. One people will be stronger than the other, and the older will serve the younger." When the time came for her to give birth, there were twin boys in her womb. The first to come out was red, and his whole body was like a hairy garment. So they named him Esau. After this, his brother came out with his hand grasping Esau's heel. So he was named Jacob. Isaac was 60 years old when Rebekah gave birth to them. The boys grew up, and Esau became a skillful hunter, a man of the open country, while Jacob was a quiet man, staying among the tents. Isaac, who had a taste for wild game, loved Esau, but Rebekah loved Jacob. Once when Jacob was cooking some stew, Esau came in from the open country, famished. He said to Jacob, "Quick, let me have some of that red stew. I'm famished." That is why he was also called Edom. Jacob replied, "First, sell me your birthright." "Look, I am about to die," Esau said. "What good is the birthright to me?" But Jacob said, "Swear to me first." So he swore an oath to him, selling his birthright to Jacob. Then Jacob gave Esau some bread and some lentil stew. He ate and drank, and then got up and left. So Esau despised his birthright. The narrative seems so normal. Right? Abraham dies, he gives the blessings to his sons, and sons are going to come forth, but then there's hostility in amongst Ishmael's sons. There's going to be hostility in amongst Isaac's sons. One of the things I love about the narrative in Genesis is that it's real and genuine. Fallen, raising sons of my own. I know it's not always perfect. It's always competitive. It's always individual feelings. But how do we walk them in the continual promises and covenant of God, raising them in the fear and the admonition of the Lord? Within this, we get to see, and I hope you take comfort as you're in family or as you've already raised family, but as you're in this world, the scriptures, the narrative of scriptures is real and genuine. Speaking about fallen people, speaking about families that don't get it right, people that are lying and deceiving, people that are sinning. Yet, those people have a God, just like you and me have a God who is not fallen, who is not corrupted, but rather gracious and generous, sacrificial, to be able to meet you and actually pursue you in your sin, to be able to forgive you so you can be set in that righteous path, to be able to fear him, to be able to honor him. So as we walk through this narrative, as we walk through this fallen narrative, may we also grab a hold of the unfallenness and the greater picture of who our God is and how he's directing his people, how he's directing you and me this day. He's directing us in the walk of faithfulness. And he doesn't just put that upon our shoulders, on our fallen shoulders, on our lying and deceiving shoulders, and our sinful shoulders. No. He goes ahead of us. And he simply asks, follow me. His ways are the way of faithfulness. His ways are the way of righteousness. Let us hear his word. Let us hear his voice. Let us continue to pray and walk behind and hand in hand with our God, who leads us in the path of righteousness. For his name's sake, for his glory, for our walk of faith. Have a blessed day as you walk with God.